On our podcast show this week, we are covering the WWDC event from Cupertino. This is probably the second, maybe third time that Cupertino has had people on campus to watch in person their pre-recorded event, which has come to be perfectly honest. I like their pre-recorded events. The production value is actually very nice to see. It's a little bit more polished than the Steve Jobs days, but in this case, I think that the mix of hybrid mix of live and also in person and also pre-recorded is actually not a bad thing. At this event, key opinion leaders like MKBHD and some others, they were able to hands-on with a lot of the different products after the event, and they were able to share some key thoughts. Many of them were not able to share some hands-on photos or videos of a certain product that we will discuss very soon. It's called Vision Pro, which is touted to be the company's one more thing. And to be honest, the company has not said one more thing for a number of years. Not since the iPad, not since the whatchamacallit. What's it called again? The
iPhone.
The iPhone, yes. The iPhone was the first one. iPod was the other one. Yeah. So, and then the iPod Touch and et cetera, et cetera. So let's start with the appetizers. First of all, the Apple MacBook Air 15. It's kind of a grown-up version of the 13-inch model. It's 15.3 inches. It's got 5mm borders. It's 11.5mm thick, which means that it's just slightly thicker than an iPad. So if you're an old person that needs a bigger screen, like grandma and grandpa, and they want their a Mac, they could be picking up something like this, which is a good upgrade. 2 Thunderbolt ports, MagSafe, headphone jack, which they did not neuter, and for those FaceTime calls, you've got 1080p cameras with 3 mic array, 6 speakers with force canceling woofers, and Apple M2 Silicon on board, which is set to be 12 times faster than their last Intel MacBook Air, which was like on a 9th or 10th gen Intel processor, and it wasn't even a good one. 18 hours of battery life. Your thoughts?
Well, it has a longer battery life, and it is 12 times faster than its old original Intel MacBook Air. But this time it has Intel. The Intel is gone. So, but the 8 core CPU from the M2 chip, as well as the 10 core GPU, which is interesting. You also got the MagSafe and Touch ID as well. 24 gigs, up to 24 gigs of memory and up to 2 terabytes of SSD. So the spec is what it is, but when you get the $1299 model, you're going to get the lower spec, which is 8 gig and probably 512 SSD. But if you want a higher spec, then you're going to have to pay more. But I would suggest you look into the higher spec, because once you get the lower spec, it's difficult to upgrade. Isn't that right, Steve?
Yeah, it's the way it is. Basically, in a nutshell, the M1 chip, the Apple Silicon, is it's basically their phone chips, overclocked in a bigger, more heat efficient container, which means that you can go for more performance in that space. What can I say? That's basically what it is. And people that don't understand why that is, well, it's because Apple is saving money by making one set of chips versus many different chips that are different, right? So by doubling down on the M1 Silicon, the Mac Silicon, using the RISC instruction sets, they're able to completely transform the way that they do things. It's going to be more energy efficient. That also means a lot of incompatibility, which we've discovered along the way, that a lot of old Intel-based stuff does not actually work or plug in anymore. Even though they're USB ports or Thunderbolt ports, they're actually not. So that's been a weird transition for a lot of people, but hopefully not too many if you are 100% Mac. We're looking at pricing, $1299. US dollars for that, and that's for the model with 8 gigabytes of RAM, which is the bare minimum these days. You've got to have that, otherwise you won't be able to run many Safari or Chrome browsers at all. And you're looking at 512 gigabytes of SSD memory on board. Now, there was some controversy last year regarding the MacBook Air, where it was actually slower than normal SSD spec. We'll have to see what the testers figure out there. But if that's not the case, it seems like a good spec. It'll be joined by the 13-inch model, also with an M2 model chip, Apple Silicon on board for $1099, and the M1 is going to continue and linger on just a little bit longer at a price point of $999. But for that $100, I would rather have a more updated M2 chip.
That's true.
That's basically it.
Yeah.
What's more exciting? Of course, Mac. The regular Mac, desktop Macs. We've got the Mac Studio. This is the double-decker Mac Mini. It looks like basically a double-decker Studio Mac Mini from last year. It was released. They say that it's going to have the M2 Max CPU upgrade. It's also going to have the M2 Ultra. So the difference between the two is the M2 Max CPU is just a single CPU. It's got 25% faster performance than the M1 Max right off the bat. For something quantifiable, they say it's going to be 50% faster in After Effects than M1 Max. Like for like, which means that if you're a shop that uses a lot of After Effects, you're just going to save a lot more time and money to begin with. So that's at least something quantifiable if you already own a Mac Studio. 4 times faster than the most powerful Intel one that they have, which is, of course, it's going to be the Mac Pro, the last Mac Pro. Okay. No way to quantify that because I don't know what gen that particular machine is in. And quite honestly, I don't think they care to dig any deeper. So we'll have to take their word for that. Within the ecosystem, within their ecosystem, it is 4 times faster. Now, the M2 Ultra is 2 M2 Max stuck together. Kind of like SLI on a single board. But it doesn't have 100% scaling because they're quoting numbers like 20% faster than M1 Ultra, 30%.
It's hard to see or hard to tell, right? What kind of speed improvements or performance improvements you get. Like, what's 4 times faster? 6 times faster? What the hell?
Yeah.
But what's true though is that the M2 and the M2 Ultra, you can have up to 24 core CPU. Let's say 24 core. I hate it because when they say that, are you talking about the M2 Max or the M2 Ultra? So they're taking the biggest figure. So I'm guessing it's the M2 Ultra, right? Up to 24 core CPU and up to 76 core GPU. So you expect that on the M2 Ultra. But if you get the M2 Max, expect lower cores, right?
Yeah, like it seems like once they mash it together, it doesn't matter what they think. It's probably 2 12 cores shoved together, and then it's called the M2 Ultra. And all these fancy numbers. One that sticks out to me is that if you are on DaVinci Resolve, it's going to give you 50% faster performance. Maybe that's useful to you. With the M2 Ultra on board, you're going to be able to stream 22 streams of 8K ProRes video simultaneously. So if you're doing a live production or something like that where that's important that you're running 8K cameras, it is capable of that. They say it's 6 times faster than the old Intel Mac Studio. Again, throwing around numbers. Okay, sure. On an older Mac, I mean, like for like, what if you had an identical 13th gen Mac Studio parked beside this? Would it still be 6 times faster? Probably not. Because we know that the generational performance increases from the 10th gen all the way up to the 13th have been pretty big, especially up to the 13th gen. It can drive 6 Pro Display XDRs if you want to go with that many. I don't know anyone that has that, maybe 2. And it does 8K resolution over HDMI. All right. For the base model with just the M2 Max, it's going to be $1999 starting. But fully kitted out, I bet you anything, this is going to be a $5,000 to $6,000 machine. Yeah,
it's crazy, right? Yeah. Up to 192 gig of RAM. So that's unified memory.
Yep.
And you go like up to 8 terabyte storage. Again, because it's a compact kind of box size, that's what they are.
Yeah.
You have to get the higher spec one because if you get the lower spec one again, it's very difficult for you to upgrade later date. Yeah. So
we have heard from iFixit that it's going to be SSD is going to be okay, but you have to find the Apple one with no controller on board. It's a very proprietary way of doing things because every SSD on the market has a controller on board. So the way that the Mac addresses the memory, like a mobile processor, is completely different. The memory, that's the thing you're going to have to buy maxed out if you want it that way.
Yeah. It's a pain.
You're gonna have to max out.
Mac way.
Yes, max out your wallet for your Mac. Now, speaking of maxed out, The Mac Pro
Yeah.
is making an appearance again with the cheese grater and everything like that. Probably $1,000 wheels and stuff like that, so you can move it around your office. This thing is going to have the M2 Ultra on board. It's probably
That's
going to
right.
be even more overclocked, but again, they don't talk about clock speeds or anything like that. That's not the Apple way, but it will be overclocked because this thing's much, much bigger. It's the size of a Mac Studio, not Mac Studio, but the Mac Pro. What you expect.
Mac Pro, yeah.
It's got that chassis. It's got a huge PCB, which is there's a reason for that. It's going to be able to support up to 6 PCI Express expansion cards. Now, this is where I'm a little bit skeptical as to how that's going to be implemented. So does that mean that moving forward there will be support from certain vendors, or is that, oh hey, someone's going to be nice and write new drivers and BIOS and firmware for all the older cards that are already out in the market, right? Probably not. So this must be a forward thinking thing where you're going to be able to buy a replacement card for the card you had in your Intel and then just stick it in this thing.
Yeah, I mean, no manufacturer's going to produce 2 cards, right? One for Intel, one for Mac. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense in manufacturing these 2 separate cards. So you're going to have to be driver based, but then just to get something just for this MacBook, Mac Pro is it worth it? But in either case, we know that a lot of audio engineers and people in the audio space, they have PCIe cards, audio cards, professional audio cards, which are still being used, of course, in PCs and of course in Macs. But will they be compatible? Only time will tell. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm very skeptical at the upgrade path on this. I don't even know what to think about people that are dealing with this right now, because it's going to be a lot of money to spend, because if you can't replace that card, and a lot of these audio cards, don't get me wrong, like they last forever because they're built so well, but they were built so well for an Intel Mac, Intel PC era that you might be very disappointed. The fact that they've added the expansion slots is a nice move, but I don't think they're talking about all of the downsides of trying to make it all work. But I digress. There are 8 Thunderbolt ports, which is 2 times more than before, and they say that it is 3 times faster than the Intel version of this machine, which is probably an older model. Again, it's based on an older gen. It's not 13th gen. I can tell you that it's not 13th gen Intel at all.
Wow.
But you can start your wallet emptying at $69.99 USD, and when most people kitted out their last Mac Pro, they were paying upwards of $10,000-$15,000 for this thing. And guess what? In 2 years, these people are now obsolete, because this is a completely different architecture.
Yeah, it's obsolete. I mean, remember years ago they had this kind of speaker-looking kind of Mac Pro.
The trash can Mac Pro.
Yeah. It was looking good. It looks really good. It had this fan in the middle, and it supported Radeon graphics cards. I was like, wow.
But there's 2 of them, and there's a CPU inside, and it would get hot.
It would get hot and stuff like that, and it would get super hot. I think at the end, I think it only was in production for about a year, and they just scrapped it. But that thing was costing.
That thing was expensive, right? And that thing's expensive. I've sat beside one before. It's a heater. It's so loud. It's not even funny. It's the worst Mac that they made ever, because of the fact that it cost so much and gave you so little back. It was terrible. It was meant to fail. It was meant to fail. It's a design exercise that was meant to make people excited, but then ultimately it just let them down. That was the same year that they changed Final Cut Pro.
All right.
And they basically threw off the entire professional market. So that was an L for sure. So hopefully this isn't another trash can Mac situation where they're going to piss off a bunch of people having to replace everything.
This is the first Mac Pro, big one. Based on the
Apple Silicon.
Apple Silicon. Okay.
Yes.
So
very first.
We'll see what will happen, because there are a ton of rendering applications and professional software, all based on x86 architecture, which is of course Intel. M2, M1 Ultra, M2 Ultra, Apple Silicon.
Yeah.
Who knows? Well,
Okay. So
see.
they also released a bunch of iOS OS updates. Let's just
Mm.
rush through them.
Yep.
iOS for iPhone, iPad OS for iPad, Mac OS is going to be named Sonoma. They made light of the fact that this is a place where they drink a lot. So blah blah blah. Has gaming in it. Blah blah blah.
Oh, gaming.
Yeah, gaming. Let's go through iPad OS. Widgets for days. Because they messed that up, and they're also they're going to fix what's this thing called, Stage Manager, which is how they laid things out. And PDF is inside. And if you have a lot of Apple devices, Apple Health devices, it's going to give you a dashboard.
Nice.
The most controversial change is in iOS 17, which is the iPhone OS. Messages, they're doubling down. Tim Cook famously said that if you wanted access to iMessage, if you wanted to talk to people using text messaging, and you want that rich ecosystem, that rich experience, you're going to have to buy yourself an iPhone. If your mom is only using a Android phone and you want her to talk to you the same way over text, you need to get her an iPhone. That was basically what he said in a very, I made it nicer. He was very sarcastic about it. So RCS is not coming to the iPhone. Probably not ever, unless the EU does something about it.
Yeah, you're guaranteed the EU is going to do something about it, because it's literally, well, I'm saying monopoly, but you're segregating people, right? Between non-iPhone users and iPhone users.
Yep.
Whether it's Android or Android, we got the SMS is spacing out, of course. Yep. You got the rich text messaging service.
RCS.
Why do you want to stop people using that just because you want them on the platform?
Yeah.
And I understand, you're going to use it for your own customers, but at the end of the day, these customers, depending on spec, pricing, and stuff like that, could jump both different.
Yeah. I've just realized that when I talk to iPhone people, I can now finally click, not click on it, but hold it, and I can choose emojis to attach to that message. That's all I got on RCS. Which is kind of a crappy experience compared to what's going on in here.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look like my iMessage is going to slow down anytime soon. And Tim Cook is just like, too bad, buy an iPhone. That's basically what they're sticking to. Okay, moving on. Sound things. Finally, I guess the AirPods have settled with Bose regarding sound canceling stuff. They were using some sort of patent that they already had, and I guess they had to tone it down. So now adaptive ANC is in AirPods now, where you can actually have a different experience compared to when you talk to someone. So transparency will come on and focus on their voice. And when they're out and there's stuff that's happening that you don't want to hear, like automotive noise and stuff like that, etc., environmental noises, that'll tune that out. How that works and if you can tune it remains to be seen. There was just a quick demo of it, so hopefully that's tweakable. AirPlay is now available on iPhones, where you can work with CarPlay in your car, so you can play the DJ and just anyone can add a song. tvOS 17 now adds FaceTime. So you can watch people watch a show together with you, and it works with your iPhone to turn it into a webcam.
So you can make video conference.
That's right.
Family members, things like that. So
WatchOS also gets an update. Nothing really for you with normal watches, but the Watch Ultra is going to get a bunch of GPS, altimeter, mapping type stuff, which it should have had in the beginning. I mean, it had a second button that basically did nothing for it when it launched. So all that stuff's coming. There will be more widgets. I mean, it seems like widgets on every single thing, including the watch. So the dial will make it widgety. You can do things.
Apple has reinvented the widget.
Yeah, from Vista, Microsoft Vista. I turned those things off immediately. I'm like, screw this. I want to focus. So they've been pushing all this widget stuff. I bet you anything, most people, once they start realizing that this gets in the way, they're just going to turn it off. They said that it's going to get out of your way by using transparencies and whatnot, but I don't like my desktop cluttered. I have a very black desktop. It's basically black screen, nothing in the back. And they even said that they're going to be dressing up the desktop with like these animated wallpapers and lock screens, which sounds a whole lot like the Pixel Fold from Google.
Well, yeah, I mean, the widgets. There's been a study on widgets actually. People with the notifications and widgets and stuff like that. For people who wants less stress, turn those off. You don't need it.
No,
right?
Widgets. No, don't show me any widgets, please. I want to focus on my work. A couple other things. One more thing is not one more thing. Not yet. Kids. They implemented some features for the iPad OS where kids are sitting too close to their screens. It will gently remind them to back up.
All right.
Okay, so that's a good thing. 30% of Americans suffer from myopia, and I think that Apple is responsible. This is just taking a little bit of ownership to that. Also, studies have shown that if you just get 2 hours of daylight or sunlight into your retinas, it helps out with that. So if you are rich enough to give your kid an Apple Watch, then you can strap that on them, and it will show you how much daylight or outside time that they've had away from their devices.
Yeah.
Yay.
You need to get out. Kids, you need to get out.
So buy more devices for your kids so that you can figure out how much time that they need to go outside for. Great. Thanks, Apple. All right. One more thing. We're going there right now.
One more thing.
So they call this the Vision Pro.
Yeah.
This is the dog goggles of the VR AR world. This is their kick at the can to really upset Mr. Zuckerberg, to not have a military product like Microsoft, and to basically use all the aluminium that they can. Aluminium, which is not a real word, to craft a headset that looks like you took a dog, like the dog goggles, like on Paw Patrol. Like they wear them, right? Because they can't wear like different eyepieces. They use it looks like dog goggles smashed into a Watch Ultra.
Yeah, it's similar to the the Overwatch character Lena. Lena Oxen. Yeah, that one. So the orange visor.
Where you can see the person's eyeball sticking out. Well, this has got it. It uses 3 displays. It uses an OLED screen on the outside to project your eyeballs outwards, or to tell people that you're busy in your wonderland of AR, VR. Inside there are 2 4K screens on either eye. And they are hard to distinguish because the pixel pitch apparently is so fine that you can't even tell that you're looking at a screen anymore. So they've taken away that kind of the headache from that. Refresh rate, some people have been saying it's upwards of 120 hertz because there's no dizziness. And there is the ability to put in your RX, your prescription, right into the lens with some snap-on lenses that are done from Zeiss. So high quality glass from Zeiss that goes in there. Battery is given to you by a external battery pack, versus which is interesting because most other headsets out there have the battery built into the headset so that it's one piece. People are giving.
I also wondered why that cable was sticking out. I thought it was connected to a computer or a laptop or something.
Well, the computer is stuck it's inside the headset now. They have 2 chips. They have an M2 chip inside and the R1 chip. The R1 is specifically built to handle all the real world interactions so that there's no lag. Because the lag is what takes you out of reality and out of virtual reality. So it breaks that connection. There's no haptics, unfortunately. So if for example you have a demonstration where you're touching something, the lack of haptics is probably going to take you out of reality immediately because you can't feel. That's something that's addressed with the MetaQuest and other headsets where there's a vibration from the handsets. But it'll be remain to seen if people actually notice that there is an issue with it. One thing that everyone noted that put it on their heads in their brief encounter with it in real life, and no one was able to take photos or do anything like that, is that it's freaking heavy.
Oh, it's heavy?
Yeah, because it's made of aluminium.
Aluminium
made of
glass.
Yes, glass.
Is heavy.
Polished glass.
Have you seen how heavy a tempered glass of a case. The case
Yeah.
is heavy. Right.
So you have a slab of glass.
Tell users how they do the the verification, the face.
Oh yes, this is funky. So there's no transparent screen. When people see your eyes, it's actually based on a deep fake model of your face. So this is the same face that you wear into video conferences. So if you're wearing it for a Zoom call, this is your representation to the world. So on the setup process, basically you take a few minutes to scan your face. And then what that does is that allows the cameras to basically figure out where you are, your face, your hair, and everything like that. And it projects that likeness through the lens, through the outer OLED screen to the world.
Okay.
So when people look at you, they're looking at a deep fake version of your eyeballs. But because it's taking real-time tracking information from your eyes, and there's a bunch of cameras inside of the Vision Pro, it reads your eyes and tracks your eyes in a very creepy way. It also implements something called Optic ID. So it actually has a retinal scanner to authenticate your session.
That's good.
To get in there, right?
Secure, right?
Yeah. Battery life for this heavy monstrosity, and not everyone mentioned the weight. I think that some wearers are more used to it. Said less about the weight, but I think that some of the female reviewers and key opinion leaders said that it's not something that they would want on their head for more than an hour at all, because it's so heavy. It's definitely has a lot of weight to it, and it's a good thing that they took the battery away, which is actually it hangs onto the headset using some sort of a proprietary twist lock, and then there is a USB-C at the bottom of it that you can plug in for indefinite power. But you only get 2 hours of battery life with the battery pack. Okay, so that's all you get. Okay. So imagine all the demos that they had there were to do with content, to do with watching a movie. Most movies are at least 2 hours or more, and longer. This will not last. Sure. This will not last. So I think that's a little bit, wishful thinking.
It's early stage. It's like the very first iPhone, right? There was tons of bugs, the design flaws, stuff like that. I'm sure it'll improve. Give it a couple of years. I definitely won't be getting it.
No.
Maybe Gen 3, Gen 4, possibly then they'll have the weight issue addressed. They have the battery life extended.
Yeah.
And a lot more software. And software is what brings everything together, hardware, software. If you haven't got software at launch, that product is pretty much screwed, right?
Yeah.
So they teamed up with Disney Plus apparently for the movies and everything, content. And tell us about the applications. You said something is coming back to life.
Something's coming back. Okay. Let's move on with the. Let's talk about Disney first. Like I said, movies are 2 hours plus. I'm sure that they're going to have to create content that's within the battery life. Does that mean money? Yes, it does for somebody, and also for Disney and for Apple as well too, because they can charge money off the App Store and make their 30%.
That's right. That's right.
There's also spatial photos. There's a feature, like if you want to talk about resurrecting things, if you watch Black Mirror, there's a few shows where you can actually relive a moment in your life, and I think this is based on retinal contacts, right? So you can relive a moment, right? With the Vision Pro, you can actually do a 3D stereoscopic video of kids playing and all sorts of life things. But all I'm seeing is basically, Daddy, why do you have that freaking thing on your face when you're staring at us? It's so weird, Daddy.
It's so creepy.
Like there's one demo where they're like, it's the birthday, and the kids blowing out the candles. Why are you wearing that freaking thing on your face? And I'm looking at your fake eyes. Like that's just so creepy and weird. I think they could have picked better demos of that, because that's just not that's just weird. Okay, weird. So that's in there. You can also relive all your panoramic photos that you've taken with the iPhone. You can look at images; they look wonderful. You can use Lightroom and other applications inside there, as well as all the other applications that Apple has brought to the ecosystem.
Yeah, as an office tool, I think that's great. I mean, you can work on all the applications. You can have extend your basically your desktop, right?
Yes.
Within that view. Other applications could be in hospitals, things like that. That could help.
Yeah, they did show a demo of that. Medical students can actually take apart a heart and see how it's put together. It's much better to do that here than it is to dig into someone's cadaver and then screw up something, because that's if someone's giving you their body for medical research, that's a gift. So know what you're doing before you do it for real. That's for sure. There's 5,000 patents that are filed, but I don't know how many of these they'll get. I think that's just a great number for the shareholders saying that they filed them. But Apple is competing against Meta and all sorts of other things. And they also have patents that they bought from, the company Lightleap. This is where the fingers are tracking everything. They purchased that company. So I'm sure that some of the work that they've done here is inside of this control surface, which they've created, which is their Vision OS, which basically implements your voice, your hands, and also, it's your voice, your hands, and your eyes.
Minority Report, right?
Oh, extremely so. Extremely so. In fact, if this was shrunk down to contact size things that you put in your eyes, this would completely be Minority Report. You would just pinch and zoom. In fact, MKBHD, he mentioned that his experience was if you're staring at something, it immediately knows what you're staring at. And if you want to select that thing, you just pinch, and it will select it for you. If you want to scroll up and down, you basically pinch, scroll, up. And it works in kind of an almost magical way that Apple would say, but it's just a lot of really good learning from what you are, because it knows your eyes, because there's cameras inside. It knows your hands, because there's cameras all around the outside of the goggles. So it knows behind, left and right, below you, in front of you, what's going on in your real world.
Apple says it feels natural. I mean, the two words "feels natural" was mentioned in the kind of conference.
Define what feels natural to me. Wearing a thing on my face does not feel natural. I mean, maybe ski goggles or something like that, but this is much heavier. This is definitely it's interesting product. I won't be buying one. It's got to get to $1,000 and half the weight before I even put this on my face. The retail price is $34.99, and it's set up to be basically a first generation developer kit.
It's too expensive.
There is a Canadian connection though. They mentioned Unity, which is compared to Unreal Engine, that's the second best. I might even say it's probably the best.
It's just a platform.
It's a platform for developing games. That The Office is actually in my town.
All right.
Yeah, so they go to the same ramen place as I do. So hopefully I see some of these out there.
They be walking around.
Excuse me.
I could, if you walk this around in public, there could be some privacy issues.
Oh, most definitely. It's like people were very upset when Google Glass was around. People were assaulted when they had Google Glass on. And that was the world back then. Imagine the world now. And this is very visible.
First, I'll get mad. I'll punch you, and I'll take your $3,500 headset.
Yeah. Imagine if this was on a plane. They had a demonstration where the thing was on a plane. It has cameras all over it, and people have fake eyes sticking out.
I know.
Imagine how weird it would be to if this person had the aisle seat, to kind of tap on their shoulder to see if they're actually there. Just
you don't know whether they're actually sleeping or they're. I mean, you can see on the visor that the eyes are closed, the virtual eyes are closed, but then what the hell? This is creepy. Yeah, you are right. It's a bit creepy, man.
It's creepy. So, as Apple's first spatial computer with a new control interface, not just multi-touch, not just touch, not just a keyboard, not just a mouse. It's going to be very interesting to see where this goes. It may not. It might take years for this thing to be what it is.
It's very, very revolutionary, but it may be too early. It could be Gen 3, 4, 5 before it gets mass popularity. Right now, it's like I said, it's really a developer's kit.
Yeah. And that's why it's called Worldwide Developers Conference. This is something new for developers to get into, to try new apps, to build new things. and to get a preview of what's to come. So on that note, at least one thing will be a positive for you in the immediate future. If you want any of the new OS updates coming up, which is WatchOS, iPad OS, iOS, and tvOS, the betas are already out there. If you're in the beta channel, you can already download those and check out all the new features. If you want a preview in the public, that's coming in July. So you can go ahead and download that and wipe your system and have this experience and see what it's all about. But if you're not willing to, do beta testing and work for Apple for free, they're going to be putting out all of the updates publicly, final versions, sometime in the fall, around October. When they do another WWDC event to talk about the reinvention of USB-C.
And possibly iPhone 15.
iPhone 15 will definitely be in the cards. But will it be as revolutionary as some others? Will it just be an upgrade to USB-C? We'll have to see when that time comes. And that's all the time we have today. Thank you so much for joining us every single week. Every Wednesday at noon is when we put out a new podcast. And this podcast, well, you know what? You get two this week. So that's because of you. If you want to get hold of me after hours, you can reach me on Instagram and on Twitter at Stephen Fung. I heard that Instagram is now starting to charge for certain features in certain certain areas.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate.
Experienced that. That's right. I'm in the UK. My account is based from the UK, and Instagram just popped up this message. Hey, want to be verified? I clicked on verify, be verified.
Yeah.
And it says, oh, yeah, you want to be verified? Just send us £11.99, which is like $15 US. No thanks. No. It's okay. It's okay. It's all right.
All right. So till next week, make sure you stick around. Oh, Winston, you didn't even say, do you want to promote your social channels now that you're paying for them? Oh, you're not paying for them.
I'm not paying for them. But, you can reach me out on Winston Jim both Twitter and Instagram as well. Winston Jim.
All right. So stay tuned for more Computex coverage. We've got some really fantastic interviews that are coming up. You're going to probably get a lot more podcasts that you're normally used to every week, which is a good thing. And you'll be able to hear some amazing stories from the industry, not Apple, about people that are making innovative moves, how the industry works behind the scenes, and some just genuinely interesting people doing amazing things, including a CEO that I would consider my brother geek maker. And it's all coming up soon. And he's a foodie as well, too. Okay? Until next week, until next podcast, we'll see you again. Bye.
Bye-bye.